Joining me live in the studio now is Stephen Laird with the law offices of Stephen C. Laird. That documentary is an awful one to watch. Do you see a lot of stories like that?
Unfortunately, I do as a lawyer. Seeing crashes and fatality collisions, it's all too often where texting devices, handheld devices are being used and distracting the driver.
What do you think of these recommendations today by the NTSB?
Well, Jane, we finally hit the intersection of safety versus convenience. The safety has to do with what you reported earlier, with well over 3,000 fatalities involving distracted drivers.
Right.
And at the same time, we all know how convenient it is to have a cell phone or some other type of portable electronic device in the car to use while we're traveling. And therein lies the dilemma. So many drivers feel that they can go ahead and use a phone and still safely drive, when in fact the studies have shown that unfortunately most of the time that does involve a severe, significant distraction.
Well, so do you think at this point we could see a nationwide ban?
That's probably unlikely, although that certainly looks like where we're possibly heading. Keep in mind, this is a states' rights issue.
So what about in Texas? Last year, Texas legislators passed a similar law. Perry didn't sign it. What difference do these recommendations make now?
They may create a little bit more pressure, but Governor Perry indicated during the last legislative session when he vetoed this legislation that he felt that this was an intrusion on individual rights. So it's as much of a political issue as it is a safety issue in some areas, in some circles.
It seems like to me that it's a really hard law to enforce. I mean, what are you going to do? Pull over every car? I mean, I guess you could pull over people like you do when you see them weaving when they're drinking.
That's right.
Would that be the way to enforce it?
Well, that's one of the ways, and as a matter of fact, just recently, Arlington instituted a city ordinance that bans texting or using cell phones unless it's a handheld device. And one of the big arguments that was voiced publicly was how hard it's going to be to enforce that. So it remains to be seen if it can really be validly enforced.
I want to ask you real quickly, put your lawyer suit aside. As a person, as a driver, what do you think we should do?
Well, I do think it's a very significant issue. It's a safety issue first and foremost. Convenience sometimes does need to take a back seat, and all you have to do is ask yourself, is it worth saving a life? And I think everybody would say yes.
Yeah, just a habit that we're going to have to get into.
That's right.
Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. And we will be right back.